What is going on, guys? It is Brett. I'm a couple days late, but I do have a review for Transformers Rise of the Beasts, directed by Stephen Caple Jr. If you've not seen any of Stephen Caple Jr.'s work, one other one you might know is Creed 2. In this film, we have the Autobots have to join forces with the Maximals, and they're going after the Transwarp Key, or as we like to call it, MacGuffin number 563, to beat Scourge to the punch and save planet Earth and hopefully save Cybertron. I have a lot to say about this movie, and I'm going to try and go through it as coherently as possible. My thoughts aren't going to be ultra coherent, I don't think, but it's weird because it has the shell of the old Transformers movies that I love. Now, if I'm being honest, I really do love the first two Transformers movies. Yes, that includes Revenge of the Fallen, warts and all. Perhaps it's because it's the generation I grew up in, but I love that film. I love both of those films. I have no problem with Dark of the Moon, but then once they got rid of Shia LaBeouf, I just kind of checked out. I've seen both of the Mark Wahlberg ones. I saw Bumblebee, and they're fine. They're okay times at the movies, but I have more of a soft spot for the first two and the first three. So that right off the bat lets you know my bias, at least going into it. The first 10 minutes of this film, without the humans, gives you a look into what it really could be if they committed to doing one of these movies and cutting out the human characters, which always end up being the lowest point of these films. Somehow, Shia LaBeouf managed to make it work in a way that, even though he was definitely the panicky male lead, whether it was his chemistry with Optimus Prime or even his chemistry with Michaela, and then also with, the guys in the military, something about it just worked in a way that I don't think the Mark Wahlberg character, Haley Steinfeld's character, or in this case, the character of Noah or the character of Elena really managed to pull off. That's just my opinion on these things. One thing right up the bat that this movie had going against it, I'm going to be completely honest, it made the mistake and had the misfortune of having two lines that really bothered me, and one of them wasn't even in this film. It was the Indiana Jones trailer in which you hear the line where you hear the line about capitalism and I steal from them, they steal from me, whatever it was. It's stealing is capitalism. And then right away in the first few minutes of this movie, you hear a guy in the street say the vampiric nature of capitalism. And I'm sorry, but those lines, those buzzwords, it is a road sign. It is a signal that tells you right away you are dealing with modern Hollywood writing full of buzzwords, full of modern day CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, mainstream media propaganda on all levels. And it takes you out of the film and it ruins the experience for me because it breaks the immersion. And it's a little thing. And I understand that this isn't necessarily going to bother anyone else. If anything, it'll probably just be something that only I will notice. But this is the other big thing. Okay. One of the hallmarks of these movies is the rousing speeches that you get from Optimus Prime talking about humanity is worth saving and coming together with the humans, to protect this planet. We have to work together to defeat the nature of evil, to defeat evil, all these things. It's all fantastic, right? It sounds great. Here's the problem. And this is something that the Bay films had a problem with as well, but it was more noticeable in this film. It would be a lot more easy for me to buy into all of the rousing speeches from Optimus Prime about how humanity is worth saving and we need to work together with the humans to defeat evil if all the human characters other than the two main characters weren't such awful pieces of garbage, okay? So Noah, the main character, is portrayed by Anthony Ramos. He starts off the movie, his brother is sick, his mom's working hard to provide, and he's looking for a job, right? And what you do is you go through two experiences, one where he brings his brother in for medical care, in which they're laid on their bill, and then he goes to a job interview, and of course, in both instances, everyone he interacts with is just awful. They're just awful people. It's not indicative of society as a whole. It's indicative of the cynicism that comes from Hollywood, and it runs directly contrary to the message of the film. How am I supposed to buy that humanity is something worth saving if none of the people this guy interacts with at any time seem to be all that good of an individual? Makes no sense to me. So on top of that, you get Elena, who's working at a museum, and she deals with this awful boss who, of course, takes all the credit for her work. And it's just full of the cynicism that you get from modern Hollywood. And I can't stand it. Now, I didn't like the Wahlberg portrayal much at all either, but something about Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback's performances, it felt tentative to me. Like they didn't commit fully to leaning into these characters. Now that could have been from the direction on some parts, but more so on the part of Dominique Fishback's character on Elena. It felt like some of the lines were first line deliveries, and that she hadn't really gotten into the feel of the scene, and it didn't match the tone or intensity of what I was watching. It felt very, very first draft to me in a lot of those lines. The chemistry between the two actors, granted, this is not something that has the romantic angle, at least not yet, that we got from the Sam and Michaela characters in the other Transformers movies. They didn't have the same chemistry, and in a lot of points, most of these characters felt very thrown together in a way that the first 2 or 3 Transformers movies managed to make you forget about. In a lot of cases, you have a lot of the same rush to problem, rush to situation, and all of these characters come together. And somehow, when Michael Bay was doing it, it felt like it worked more. That could have been my own bias from the time period that I watched it, but that's just me. Another thing about this was it felt like it had Michael Bay humor, but it was like a weird, neutered 2023, we're scared of offending anyone type of humor that just didn't really work. It's like it couldn't pick a lane. It couldn't figure out if it wanted to be a throwback to the early 2000s, or in this case, the 90s, with the fact that this is a period piece of which, because it takes place in the late 90s, which of course the music in this film indicates, because it is like a weird amalgamation of just about, and what's weird about it is it's the genre of music that I grew up with, right? So it's Wu-Tang Clan, it's rap music, it's all these things. It's what I grew up loving, and the trailers indicated this, and you get a lot of it in this film. And as much as I love that genre, as much as I love that time period of music, I feel as if it does a disservice to what they're trying to portray as the scope of the film by using music in places where I think score would have worked better. One of the things I loved the most about those first Transformers movies is that Steven Jablonsky score. Look, every time an Autobot in those early Transformers movies goes from a car and transforms into their character, and that music swells and you get that feel of emotion, that rush of emotion, I could watch those movies now. I'm a kid again. Instantly. And this movie just didn't manage to do that. And especially at the end, when you're running through this grand scale finale of this movie, it's just CGI hell at this point. You're going through this grand experience, and the music is like a weird orchestral mix of old school hip hop and score, and I felt like it couldn't figure out what it wanted to be, and the movie suffered for it. So it didn't work for me. Scourge was fine. I thought Peter Dinklage's voice work was whatever. It didn't really leap out to me the way voice actors have in the past. I enjoyed Peter Cullen here as Optimus Prime, and a surprise performance here. Granted, I knew who it was going in. I didn't hate Pete Davidson as Mirage. I thought he did just fine in that role. And one of the strong parts of this film was I do feel like they did a good job of building the relationship between Mirage and Noah the same way that Sam and Bumblebee built their relationship in the first Transformers movies. I thought they did great work with that. So that was one of the strong parts of this movie. I also did not like, and I do not know if this is cartoon canon in any way, shape, or form, the basic, it's a Noah Iron Man suit at the end, which just felt so modern, so current day, so very, we can put this in there and it will be like we'll have our own Iron Man. And that especially makes sense given that the cameo at the end, so spoiler alert for the end with Michael Kelly, they do tease a Hasbro cinematic universe by introducing the G.I. Joes. And just the idea that we could have the G.I. Joes and a human, Iron Man-esque character just doesn't work for me. Not everything needs to be Marvel. I felt like this movie just missed the mark in a way that I can't really put my finger on it. It had a lot of the ingredients. Like, look, I liked I didn't love, but I liked and tolerated Black Adam. And somehow in my brain, these movies run parallel to one another. But Black Adam did certain aspects better. It could be because I'm a really big fan of Sarah Shahi, and I thought that her character was great in that movie. And also, The Rock is obviously The Rock, and Pierce Brosnan is Pierce Brosnan. They gave great performances. Aldous Hodge. Maybe it was just my bias towards the actors in that movie that left a better taste in my mouth than this one did, but it just didn't work for me. If I had to give it a rating, I would say 4 out of 10. 3 or 4 out of 10. I would not watch it again. One thing that it might have going for it is that kids who don't have a previous love for the earlier Transformers movies may enjoy this more than, say, somebody like me who went into it having a deep affection for the cheesiness that was those Michael Bay Transformers in the early 2000s. What do you guys think? If you guys saw the movie, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the movie. If you didn't, I can't recommend you go see it. But if you do, leave a comment down there. If you watch Pop Culture Crisis, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. Hope to see you there, guys. Later. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.